His own U.S. postage stamp, the USPS will unveil it Thursday in Louisville, Kentucky. The black and white design shows Ali in his iconic boxing pose, and stamps can be pre-ordered online now. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Looks like your drive is slowly improving in Hollywood on the 101 northbound at Vermont. That earlier wreck now is only taking up to 2 right lanes. You do remain a bit jam-packed throughout the area, but it is getting a bit better. It still is an extra hour to your commute. And in Elysian Park, an earlier wreck has now been pushed to the shoulder on the 5 northbound before the 110, but you do remain jam-packed all the way from the 10.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A milestone night Monday for Clippers guard James Harden. In the Clippers' 117-109 win over Charlotte at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, Harden passed Shaquille O'Neal for 9th place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. Harden dropped 32 points to give him a career total of 28,614. Shaq had 28,596 in his 19-year career. The 36-year-old Harden is in his 16th season. The Lakers have lost 3 straight after losing at Sacramento Monday night, 124-112. The number one topic in the NFL today is the status of Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, one of 4 African-American head coaches in the NFL. Tomlin is also the longest active coach in the NFL with 19 seasons in Pittsburgh. The Steelers' 30-6 loss to Houston last night in the AFC playoffs opened the door to discussions about Tomlin's future. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavismiley.com. That's thetavismiley.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, a conversation with New York Times investigative reporters Katie Benner and Erica L. Green about their new text. It's called Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. It is a provocative text. I'll let them take us inside it in hour 2. Once again, the title, Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. These two brilliant investigative reporters for The Times, Katie Benner and Erica L. Green, join us today in our second hour. In our third hour,
Clay, it is a peculiar sensation, this double consciousness. Don't you see?
About what he was feeling. If you talked more, we could have avoided all of this.
All I have to do is just talk more for you to not sleep with another man?
Would it make you feel better if you did it too?
Hello.
Do I know you?
You think I'm exciting, right? Would you like to be down with me? I want you to say to me that you love me.
I don't lie on love.
It's the only kind of thing you'd lie about, especially if you think it'll keep you alive.
What's that supposed to mean? What do you want?
Take me to that party.
How do you know about the party? Who is she? Don't know. But it's like she knows everything about me.
So how'd you meet? We've always known. It goes beyond time. Something's wrong with you.
This can't be real. Clay, you're trapped in a cycle of yearning, despair, defeat. You have to dismantle your curse. What curse?
What do you think we've been talking about all this time? You're a murderer, Clay, and you know it.
Were you in on this?
In on what? What is going on?
It's a clear nightmare, man. What the hell am I doing here?
Director, producer, and writer Andre Gaines joins us in hour 3 to discuss the new film adaptation of The Dutchman. This is the play written by the late, great Amiri Baraka. We'll also be joined by our resident Baraka expert, my colleague Dominique di Prima, who happens to be the daughter of Amiri Baraka. We'll talk about The Dutchman in theaters now in our third and final hour today. But we commence today's show talking politics and more with Dr. Niambi Carter, associate professor in the School of Public Policy at the University of Maryland. Professor Carter, good to have you back. Happy New Year. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Good to have you back on the program. Let me start with this. I was thinking about this literally walking down the hallway into the studio today to commence this show and this conversation with you. I want to spend a few minutes here. Take me inside your classroom. I am fascinated to know. You're laughing already, right? I'm fascinated to know what a public policy professor is teaching, what students are asking, what's going down right about now inside your classroom these days.
Well, classes haven't started yet, but I can tell you at the end of the year, students are stressed, especially students who are immigrants themselves or children of immigrants. My students whose parents are entrepreneurs and paying their own health insurance. I mean, students were really wondering kind of where does this end? And given our proximity to the Capitol, I mean, there were even questions about whether ICE would be showing up on our campus. And we have a lot of foreign students on our campus. And so there were students concerned about whether they're going to be able to come back to campus at the conclusion of the fall semester, when they try to get back in the country. So, I mean, it is hard to tell students that they should care about much of anything when they see their personal and professional lives being impacted. Because I had a lot of students who lost opportunities at the federal government because agencies were either shuttered or stopped hiring. So it's been a rough time, quite frankly.
Yeah. How do you navigate that kind of fear and trepidation on the part of students when you're trying to get them to focus on the lesson, as they say?
Well, I have to, be sensitive, right? Because we don't live in a vacuum. And I tell them, this stuff is applicable because there's going to be a moment of rebuilding. When that moment happens, I don't know. But there will need to be people who are educated on these policies, who know how a policy process is supposed to work under the best circumstances, and how to devise a mission and a vision, because we will have to rebuild our public health infrastructure. We need to rebuild our expertise in the bureaucracy. And so these skills will be needed again, right? And they will be important because you have an opportunity to envision a world we haven't seen. Like, just because things are the way they are right now doesn't mean that they have to be this way.
Yeah.
And so you also have a great opportunity to imagine what you would like to see and think about ways we can improve the world that we are inheriting.
Yep. So when we come forward, I want to link those two things up. I see exactly where I want to go here. This notion of telling these students that they can, in fact, imagine, they can create, they can build or rebuild, as it were, a world that looks more like the world we want to inhabit. There's a link between how one builds that world and obviously good public policy. She is, of course, a public policy professor at the University of Maryland, so I'm going to link those two things up for her and let her opine on that when we come forward. And, of course, there's all kind of news today. Donald Trump, speaking of public policy, has gone in on the Somali community once again. It's not enough. They killed this sister, Renee Good, in Minneapolis. Now, because of all the Somalis in Minneapolis, Donald Trump heretofore called them trash. Now he's ended all temporary protected status for Somalis. I'll give you some sound on that. Minnesota, Keith Ellison, the AG on this program days ago, has now announced a lawsuit against the federal government, and that's just the start of all the stuff I have for you in this first hour with Professor Niambi Carter of the University of Maryland on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening.
Charitable listening.
It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. For 40 years, I have had the privilege, and I don't use that word lightly, the privilege of sitting down with presidents, world leaders, authors, artists, activists, the folk who shape our world. Thousands of conversations, tens of thousands of questions. And somewhere along the way, I realized that the art of conversation is dying. So here's what I'm going to do about it. I am now going to teach what these almost 40 years have taught me: how to have conversations that matter. 6 courses, from the anatomy of a great conversation to generous listening as a superpower to handling difficult exchanges without losing your dignity or your mind. Go to TavisTalks.com right now. That's TavisTalks.com. Download the free guide, see what's coming, sign up to be the first to know when we launch the series. Conversation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be taught. I'll see you in class.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Charmin Ultra Strong. You can use less, better than the rest. Charmin Ultra Strong. Your booty past the clean test. Salmon weave texture, it's the best. Study up, teach a lesson on fresh. Your booty past the clean test. Yes, sir. Charmin Ultra Strong.
Charmin Ultra Strong with diamond weave texture cleans better than the leading one-ply brand, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Dr. Niambi Carter, who's Associate Professor in the School of Public Policy, University of Maryland. Honored to have her on today to kick off this 3-hour show, which is going to be a great show today. Got some great guests lined up in the second and third hours. But glad to have her at the outset here. So in case you've just tuned in, I started out by asking her, what's it like teaching public policy in a moment like this? On the campus of a major institution like University of Maryland, the Terrapins. And she said, well, classes ain't in session as yet. When do you all come back? When are you back? I'm curious now.
We come back on the 26th.
Okay, 26th. Okay. Well, this mess will still be going on by the time they get back.
Oh, yeah.
So my question is still relevant because this mess ain't going nowhere by the 26th. It's going to get worse, I suspect, between now and the 26th. You have a lot to talk about when those students come back. But she was saying that the students are sensing a sense of fear and trepidation. Many of them are immigrants and not understanding or knowing how this is going to impact them, whether they can come back to class this semester. She'll see in just a few weeks, whether or not all her students have made it back, given the fear that many of them have. Because it is the case, as we all know, that literally from California to the Carolinas, people are hiding out. They don't want to come out. They don't want to run the risk of running into ICE. And these days, running into ICE can get you killed. Exhibit A, Renee Good. And so she will see in a few weeks whether her students make it back. But this is a fascinating time, I think an interesting time, to have a conversation about public policy. And you made the point a moment ago that you've told your students that they have the opportunity in the years to come to imagine a world, to reboot, to rebuild, pick your word, what Donald Trump in real time is destroying. But you can't imagine that world. You can't rebuild that world. You can't reboot without some kind of commitment to good public policy. And I'm not even sure I know what that means anymore. So I want to just start with a broad question. This is a bit philosophical. We'll work our way through this, and I'll get to some news of the day in just a second here. But I'm fascinated by this notion of public policy. I'm a public policy major at Indiana University. Can I say right quick? Go Hoosiers! Go Hoosiers! But I'm an IU grad. And I studied public policy in the School of Public and Environmental Affairs. We call it SPIA. So public policy, it happens to be my background. So this stuff fascinates me for all the obvious reasons. It's why I came to work for Tom Bradley when he was mayor of the city of LA, where I sit right now. So I'm a public policy a nerd, if you will. And so I'm wondering how you are processing, and as you prepare to teach these students when they come back, the way we are seeing public policy being obliterated, being twisted, being trampled upon, the way the Supreme Court in so many ways now is actually writing legislation. They're not just they're not doing their constitutional duty, which is to interpret it. Their interpretations really is rewriting the law. Donald Trump is rewriting the law as he sees fit. So that the way that we have gone about advancing good public policy is a thing of the past. So it's a broad philosophical question, paint as you will, but just talk to me about how you're processing the way we do, that's how I want to phrase it, the way we do public policy right about now.
Well, I will say as a former Boilermaker, that was my first job.
Oh Lord.
But I use a great
Hey, Professor Carter, before you go forward, I have a T-shirt that I wear sometimes. And for those who don't know the Indiana Purdue thing, I'll put it in terms that you can understand. It's like UCLA and USC.
Absolutely.
It's that's the kind of thing it is. So that when I have a T-shirt that I wear that says my two favorite teams are Indiana and whoever is playing Purdue. Just want to say that. All right, go ahead, Professor Carter. I'm sorry.
But no, it's a great program. But I think the reason that any of us are in public policy or who care about policy is because we want to create a space for us to live the best lives that we can live. Mm-hmm. And I think about the future a lot because I think about people like my grandparents and my parents who had faith, right, that the world could be different and that we could do things differently, right? When the Civil Rights Act of 1964 came about, they didn't know what that looked like. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what that world would entail, but it was a big idea. And I tell my students all the time, think big, because part of our ability to tackle the things that are going to be in front of us, like climate change, mass incarceration, food insecurity, inflation, infrastructure, right? I mean, our physical infrastructure, all of those things, we have to think beyond where we are right now. So just because something is the way it is right now doesn't mean it has to be. So when we talk about, Zohran Mamdani, my students were really engaged with that election in New York, because he was talking about those big ideas about how to set new standards and how to come up with new norms. Why isn't it the case that college isn't free in this country anymore? Why isn't it the case that we can't imagine, bus transportation being free? Like, why can't we think about those things as being real possibilities, and just instead of saying, well, nah, we'll never do that. We didn't ever think that Black people would be able to be free in this country. And if we kept that attitude, we wouldn't be. So it's about thinking beyond where you are in the moment and thinking about how we can set standards, how we can address the big challenges facing us, and how we can allocate resources. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of what we have to do, is use what we have, but we have to do that with a mind of doing the most good for the most of us, for the least of us. And I think that's why my orientation to policy is always thinking about, okay, so you don't like what this is, then what are you going to do to change it? You take an issue like domestic violence. That wasn't part of our lexicon most of our lives. I mean, it really required us changing the narrative. And it's a hard fight. And I tell people all the time, this isn't a 2-hour movie. You got to be in the slog. And sometimes you don't even get to see the changes that you're putting into the world. But it means that you are plodding away. You got to eat the elephant a little bit at the time. And so when we think about something like domestic violence that most of us are now aware of, or sexual harassment, those weren't actual things 40 and 50 years ago, heck, even mostly 30 years ago. But we had to change the conversation. We had to change the norms. Then you get people, right, to build legislation and policy around that. Then you build enforcement mechanisms around that. And that is everything from our workplaces to how law enforcement works, to how the legal system responds to those claims. It's a lot of work to be done. And our country can always get better. Our communities can always be better. Our neighborhoods, our counties can always be better.
A more perfect union is more than just a phrase. It is a phrase.
Absolutely.
But it's a lot more than a phrase, and we have to make that phrase come to life, a more perfect union. She's right. This is not a 2-hour movie. We will discuss a 2-hour movie, though, in our third and final hour today, called The Dutchman, Amiri Baraka's controversial play, now adapted as a film. We'll do that in our third hour. And I was laughing when you said we didn't know years ago we'd be free. I could debate you on how free Black people are. I take your point, though.
Absolutely.
I ain't going to debate you on that. But I said, oh, no. We don't want to debate how free Black people are right about now. I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
And I was in a conversation with some friends the other day, and I was making a distinction to them, which I won't detour right now. But I was making a distinction to them between being free and being liberated. They're not the same thing.
Absolutely.
Freedom and liberation are not exactly the same thing. We'll save that dialogue for another day. But to your point about thinking big, I'm going to come back to that because, and this may be heresy to say to an audience like mine, but I'm going to say it anyway because I want to just kind of push you a little bit on this. One could argue, indeed I could argue, as a matter of fact, I will argue right now, just for the sake of playing devil's advocate, that thinking big is exactly what Donald Trump did. And frankly, not even Donald Trump, but the folk around Donald Trump. Project 2025 was thinking big. They laid out an aggressive agenda. They thought big, and they are running their play. They're running that playbook. That's an example of thinking big. Now, we don't like the big thinking that they did. We don't like the plays that they're running, but they in fact thought big. And this has been one of my criticisms for quite a while now, not just when Donald Trump showed up, of Democrats. There was a time, and you laid it out beautifully, when Democrats, I thought, were thinking big. The Voting Rights Act, and again, and I'm pausing here because I say thinking big, that's just what's just and what's right and what's moral. So in some ways, it ain't really thinking big, it's just doing the right thing. But those were big pieces of seminal legislation that Democrats pushed through. I'm talking about the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act and Medicaid and Medicare, even PBS and NPR. I could run the list of all the big ideas that Democrats have advanced heretofore. Now, when was the last time you can put your finger on an idea or point to an idea that was a big idea? Okay, I'll give you Obamacare. That was a big idea. They've been trying that for years. And even then, they watered it down. Obama and them negotiated against themselves. It's still not universal health care as they promised us, but they did get something across the line. Okay, I'll grant you that. That's big thinking. But tell me the last time you can point to a litany of issues and ideas that represent thinking big on the part of Democrats. But that's exactly what Republicans did. I'm going to pause for a second. Professor Carter, your turn.
So I will say, I think student loan forgiveness was big.
Okay.
It didn't get far.
Right.
I was a beneficiary, though. I'm going to put that out there. I will always give the Biden administration credit for that,
Fair
because
enough.
it wasn't just me. It was a lot of Black professionals that many of us know who were saddled with student loan debt and been paying for education since Pluto was a planet. But I don't disagree with you, because I think one of the things that, like you said, we might not like what Republicans have come up with, but it wasn't just Project 2025. It was Project Red Map, if you remember, from the early aughts, where they did the redistricting majority project, where they looked at the map and said, we can't win nationally, but you know what we can do? Win state and local elections. We can win gubernatorial elections. And that changes the game on the national election, so we can get here. Republicans are very good at playing the long game and not taking half measures. They weren't satisfied, right, with just sort of being able to scale things back or move it. They wanted to destroy things like the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, the Immigration and Naturalization Act, which comes out of the civil rights movement, right? They wanted to get rid of all of those things. And they waited and plotted and planned for over 60 years until they got to the place where they could do it. And it's small chips. And I think you're right. I mean, that Great Society programs that we imagine, the moment when we came out of the Depression and was like, we have to have a national vision of putting people back to work and creating social safety nets so that we can actually move this country forward, was probably one of the biggest innovations, right, of our lifetimes we are still benefiting from. But I think the Democrats got really comfortable thinking that this is where we end. And it's like, these are beginnings, right? Because the goal is to always improve and move forward. And I think there were perhaps legitimate concerns and criticisms about the way some of these programs worked that served to undermine the legitimacy of these programs that Democrats didn't take seriously, like welfare, for example. I think there were a lot of problems with the way that welfare of old worked. And no one took them seriously. And so when you see these resentments building and people are able to, like Reagan, to weaponize welfare queens, weren't really real, but were there some problems with the way the system functioned? Sure. He was able to weaponize that in a way that even people who benefited and would benefit from welfare were able to marshal their resources against the program that most people could benefit from, even if not in whole, in part. Childcare subsidies, food assistance, right? All of those things are welfare. But they were able to do an end run around it because no one wanted to take seriously these questions about who is it applicable to? Should there be time limits? Like, there should be ways to talk about some of these really uncomfortable things that don't undermine the real important and useful parts of programs like welfare. But I don't disagree with you on that, Tavis. I don't think Democrats have thought big in a very long time.
We agree, in a very long time. She mentioned the Great Society. That was thinking big. We can mention the New Deal. FDR. That was thinking big. I guess what I'm trying to say is, Andy, I want the Democrats to think like the Indiana Hoosiers. Think big and run your plays. That's what the Hoosiers are going to do in this championship game. You see, I weave that in there again. I had to get the Hoosiers in there one more time, even though I'm talking to a terrapin. The bottom line is that if Democrats ever get back in, as I keep saying, they have to think big, and they have to learn this lesson from Donald Trump. Run your play. Whatever you do, think big, and when you get in there, just run your play. And I don't mean do stuff that is illegal, immoral, or unethical like Trump does every single day, but whatever your agenda is, run your playbook. That's the takeaway for me from what Donald Trump's doing, and it's only year one, not even year one yet, because we ain't got to January 20th yet, and we still got 3 more years of this. God help us all. When we come forward, there is news. I said earlier, Donald Trump is going in once again, even harder now on Somalis. You know what he thinks of people of color and people from certain parts of the world. So it wasn't enough to kill the sister in Minneapolis. Now you're going in on the Somali community, ending as of today, ending temporary protected status for Somalis. And he had some not so nice things to say about them. We'll play that for you. Keith Ellison, again, has filed a lawsuit against the federal government. We'll play some sound for Keith Ellison, the AG in Minneapolis, or in Minnesota, I should say. So a great deal more to cover with Niambi Carter when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough. But if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Wood with BIN News Now. 2 people were hurt when a U-Haul truck plowed through protesters in Los Angeles rallying against Iran's government. Mayor Karen Bass said demonstrators should feel safe in the highly charged environment.
There's a lot of various protests that are happening, and obviously we want everybody to exercise their First Amendment right, but how one does that is critical.
The driver was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon. An 18-year-old Georgia woman is charged with theft by deception after allegedly tricking her ex into paying $7,000 in child support for a baby that wasn't hers or his. Bria Hardy, who is Black, was arrested near New Year's after the Coweta County Sheriff's Office investigated. And Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler, won the Golden Globe for Cinematic Box Office Achievement after grossing over $360 million worldwide, including more than $200 million in the U.S. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Hollywood, although the 2 left lanes are currently open following that wreck involving a semi, you are still jam-packed in the area. 101 northbound at Vermont Avenue is where the collision began, and you remain stacked all the way from 1st Street. And in Irwindale, a recent wreck involving 5 vehicles has the carpool and 2 left lanes blocked, 210 westbound before the 605. In the meantime, you are going to be jam-packed all the way from Sunflower Avenue.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A milestone night Monday for Clippers guard James Harden. In the Clippers' 117-109 win over Charlotte at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, Harden passed Shaquille O'Neal for 9th place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. Harden dropped 32 points to give him a career total of 28,614. Shaq had 28,596 in his 19-year career. The 36-year-old Harden is in his 16th season. The Lakers have lost 3 straight after losing at Sacramento Monday night, 124-112. The number one topic in the NFL today is the status of Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, one of 4 African-American head coaches in the NFL. Tomlin is also the longest active coach in the NFL with 19 seasons in Pittsburgh. The Steelers' 30-6 loss to Houston last night in the AFC playoffs opened the door to discussions about Tomlin's future. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Dr. Niambi Carter, who is an associate professor in the School of Public Policy, University of Maryland. Author and just all-around brilliant sister when it comes to all things public policy, and so I'm honored to have her on this program to kick us off in the first hour today. So we've been having a more broad conversation about public policy in a moment such as this, and what it's looking like and what it ought to look like, and whether or not there's irreparable damage being done by the public policy agenda that Donald Trump is pushing, and how long it's going to take us to reboot and rebuild after he gets done destroying everything that is in his way, like a bull in a china shop. Now I want to just pivot to some news of the day, of course. And the Trump administration has announced today that it is going to end temporary protected status for Somalis. Now, we know that Donald Trump's been going in on Somalis for quite some time now. And again, none of this surprises anybody listening right now, but he never misses an opportunity to just turn the knife even more, right? So you kill this woman in Minneapolis, and you can't back down from that. You can't apologize for that. You express no remorse. They have doubled down and tripled down and quadrupled down on their messaging. I saw Donald Trump in the New York Times today from an interview he did some days ago say that, he's added another reason. Let me put it this way. He's added another reason to his long list of excuses and justifications for why they killed her. And now is that she disrespected law enforcement. That's the new one, right? She disrespected law enforcement. So they keep adding these reasons and rationales every day for why they killed her rather than just acknowledging that it was wrong. And, of course, they're never going to do that. But, again, it's not enough just to kill her and to set things off with protesting rallies all across the country. He comes behind that and doubles down on his criticism and critique of Somalis who had nothing to do with this. They're not even in this. But he's taking shots at Somalis again, and once again, as I said, ending protected status for Somalis, which doesn't surprise you, ought not surprise you. This is what Donald Trump had to say not too long ago about Somalis.
The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief...
Well, then he's a fool.
Well, his police chief is also saying...
I wouldn't be proud to have the largest Somalian. Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just a people walking around killing each other. Look, these Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar. She shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that. And she should be thrown the hell out of our country. And most of those people, they have destroyed Minnesota, okay? That beautiful land, that beautiful state. It's a hellhole right now. And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country. And all they do is complain, complain, complain. You have her. She's always talking about the Constitution provides me with... go back to your own country and figure out your Constitution. All she does is complain about this country. And without this country, she would not be in very good shape. She probably wouldn't be alive right now. So Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. I don't know. I haven't been there. I won't be there anytime soon, I hope. But what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's not even believable.
I don't even know what to ask President Carter, except, what do you make of, how do you process that in a moment like this administration is once again distracting us from what they did, killing Renee Good by going in once again on the Somali community?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's just a distraction. I mean, I think this is, giving him, I think, cover for what he's wanted to do all along. I mean, Donald Trump has made no secret what he thinks about non-European people and non-European countries. To sit there and say they destroyed their country and it's a terrible place, it's the worst country in the world, but I've never been there. I hope not to go there. And then revoke to temporary protected status, which is an acknowledgement by this government that the country is too dangerous for whatever reason, or too unstable for the people of those countries to be sent back. I mean, it tells you something about the way that this administration operates. It's about being punitive, and it's about creating pain in people that he has no use for, or people that he views as being obstinate or obstacles, right, to his agenda. Because when you look at the expanded list, not just, ending TPS for the Somalis, but he's also done it for Nicaragua, Venezuela, even though we've just kidnapped their president, and Nepal, all of these places. These are places they've also banned visas from. And many of those countries are countries on the continent of Africa, in the Caribbean, or in Asia. So he has made it very clear who he thinks has the potential to be American. And it is not people it is not people from Somalia or anywhere else. I think what's even more galling is the fact that, part of his support came from members of the Somali community.
Yeah.
And I think that's, just shows how this administration and this president in particular operates.
Yeah. Let me ask you what, again, no naivete here, but as I want to circle this back to public policy, where we started this conversation, what you teach, of course, at the University of Maryland. How do you read that as he advances this kind of public policy? Sometimes he does it by executive order, but it's all public policy. As he advances these notions, these ideas, and these agendas, how do you read that the Speaker of the House has basically surrendered his gavel to Donald Trump? The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court has surrendered his gavel. Everybody's gaveling down. They just gavels down, or basically just, literally, not literally, but, theoretically just turning over, in theory, just turning over their gavels to Donald Trump as he continues to do and say stuff every day that really does serve as a kind of public policy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unprecedented. I've never seen so many people sort of willingly give over their own power. And these aren't, I mean, you don't even have to be a good person to be, sort of self motivated, right? And I've just never seen anything like it. I mean, these, by definition, politicians, I don't care what side of the aisle they're on, these are people who want power.
They crave it. Yeah. Sure.
They want it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why you see people staying in office 50, 60,
That's
40
right.
years,
That's
because they
right.
want that job.
Yeah.
So to see people just sort of abdicate whatever authority they have to a man who, quite frankly, is incoherent, irrational, and dangerous. I mean, he squandered our international reputation. That press conference with the oil executives was disastrous.
Yes.
I'm like, you didn't even talk to these people before you decided that you were going to do this? Like, I mean, it was, I think it just seems insane. But this is the world we live in, and he is doing it because, as you noted, all of the institutions that are supposed to be the checks on his power and authority have sort of said, well, it's not hurting us right now, so we'll go along with this, with some notion that they can rein this back in. He is not going to be reined in. Yeah. He is not governable. He does not believe in the limits of his own power. He believes that he is absolutely the most powerful person, not just in this country, but in the world. Yeah. Right? He says he's only limited by his own morality, and that should scare us all.
No, and you all have seen the video of that meeting with those oil executives,
Absolutely.
right? Where he just gets up in the middle of the meeting and goes and looks out the window. I'm like,
yes.
Yeah, he is, you know. And let me Paul. When we come forward, we'll jump onto this. I want to pivot for a second, because I was saying again to some people the other day. See, here's the problem with Democrats. Donald Trump and Republicans went in so hard on Joe Biden about his mental acuity. We saw in real time Donald Trump just snap. He gets up from a table in a meeting with the executives in the middle of the meeting and goes and looks out the window and starts talking about something totally different. And I have not seen Democrats go in on him about his mental acuity the way they allowed them to go in on Joe Biden. Pause there for a second. We'll continue when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. If you're struggling with mental health, you should know that there are resources out there that can help. And it's okay to talk about it if you need to. One place to get started with information is loveyourmindtoday.org. Loveyourmindtoday.org offers a range of guides, instructions, and insights for dealing with difficult situations or getting through a tough time. If you're struggling with mental health, get the help you need, because most people out here really care. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cow Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Vice President Dr. Niambi Carter, Associate Professor at School of Public Policy, University of Maryland. So I pivoted there for a second, but I think it's something we should just kind of park here for a second. I don't know if you feel the same way I feel, but we all saw Donald Trump, Republicans, just I felt sorry for Joe Biden at one point. They were going so hard on him day in and day out. And, of course, after the debate debacle, it just got worse. But we've seen evidence of Donald Trump doing the same exact thing. And when he got up from that table the other day with those oil executives and just mid-sentence just forgot where he was, what he was talking about, he gets up and he wanders over to the window and looks out the window and starts talking about his ballroom. He eventually catches himself and realizes what he had just done. He comes back to the table, sits back down, and tries to pick up where he left off. But the telling part beyond his going to the window is the look that J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio give each other. Just look at their faces. Look at the stare between Rubio and J.D. Vance. That tells you all you really need to know. I'm only coming back to that, and I've not discussed that on this program heretofore. I could have, but I'm glad we raised it now because, again, it underscores the way Democrats play the game, the way Republicans play the game. Let me just add as well, let me just throw my own industry under the bus once again because they deserve it. Even the media hasn't made the kind of hay about what Donald Trump did the other day in terms of snapping the way they did about Joe Biden. I'm sorry, Jake Tapper, and Jake Tapper is my friend. He wrote the book. They go in on Joe Biden, but they have not spent anywhere. I mean, just look. If somebody's going to do, somebody will do this. Somebody at some point is going to look at the time spent on going after Biden about his mental acuity versus the lack of time spent on Trump. I'm telling you right now, I can just sense it. I can feel it. I can see it. I sit in this chair every day. There's been nowhere near the time spent by the mainstream media unpacking what Donald Trump did the other day, snapping, versus the way they went in on Joe Biden. I'm talking about the so-called liberal media, but I digress, Professor Carter.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're right. I mean, it should be cause for concern that this man is making calls. I mean, bomb Nigeria. He's kidnapped Nicolas Maduro, clearly without a plan. Now he's threatening Greenland, right? And causing fallouts with China and Russia. I mean, we should be concerned that a person who has such poor impulse control is in charge of the nuclear codes. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the part that I think, or this is the time, right, when people of conscience need to say something, because as you rightly pointed out, I mean, people said Joe Biden wasn't with it. Mm-hmm. He's not here. Mm-hmm. He's not. But I can guarantee you what Joe Biden wouldn't be doing.
Yep.
There wouldn't be 300,000+ Black women unemployed right now. We wouldn't be kidnapping the president of Venezuela and telling the oil companies you can assume, millions and billions of dollars of development costs. So he can live out some, authoritarian dream of his. Donald Trump is not well.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think that is not slanderous. I mean, but I think by all accounts, what we're seeing does not, at a minimum, a person that appears to be sharing the same reality with us.
That's right.
At this moment. And as a person who has a parent who suffers from dementia, I can say, and I'm not suggesting that he has dementia.
Sure.
I am not a medical professional, but I can say many of the things that I've seen, I don't look unfamiliar to me out of his behavior.
No, and you ain't the only one. It's just the media is not reporting on it the way they did during the Biden era. I digress on that for now. When we come forward in our remaining moments, I mentioned earlier that Keith Ellison, the AG in Minnesota, on this program days ago, has now filed a lawsuit against the federal government regarding what happened to Renee Good in Minneapolis. We'll get some sound from Keith Ellison when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control.
Yikes!
So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Still battling a thirsty lawn that guzzles water and drains your wallet? Let LADWP turn that patch of grass into a gorgeous, drought-smart garden for free. We're talking a full California-friendly landscape makeover designed and installed by pros at no cost to you. That's right, LADWP does the work, you get the upgrade. Ready to transform your yard and save big? Visit ladwp.com/leap. That's ladwp.com/LEAP.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
Just enough time to squeeze in a clip from Keith Ellison, the AG in Minnesota, who has filed a lawsuit against the federal government.
We've come together, and we're here to announce a lawsuit we're filing against the United States Department of Homeland Security to end the unlawful, unprecedented surge of the federal law enforcement agents into Minnesota. Because this has to stop. It just has to stop. We allege that the obvious targeting of Minnesota for our diversity, for our democracy, and our differences of opinion with the federal government is a violation of the Constitution and of federal law. We allege that the surge's reckless impact on our schools, on our local law enforcement, is a violation of the 10th Amendment and the sovereign laws and powers of the Constitution grants to states. We allege that DHS's use of excessive and lethal force, their warrantless, racist arrests, their targeting of our courts, our churches, houses of worship, and schools are a violation of the Administrative Procedures Act on arbitrary and capricious federal actions. And we ask that the courts will end the surge of thousands of DHS agents into Minnesota.
That's Keith Ellison, the AG in Minnesota, announcing the filing of a lawsuit against the Trump administration for all the reasons he laid out there. I've got 60 seconds here, Professor Carter. This ICE narrative is not tamping down. In fact, it's ramping up. They're sending more ICE agents to Minnesota even as we speak. Speaking of good public policy, what do you see this story headed?
Well, I think it's going to be more danger for the citizens of Minnesota, more dangerous for local law enforcement because these people do not respond to 911 calls, for example. They don't know these communities that well, even if they're from this place. That's not what they do. They are not responsive to the citizens. This is not a public safety job. And I think more importantly, being here in violation of a visa or being an undocumented person is not a criminal act. It's a civil act. It should not result in anyone's death. And so the fact that you have ICE who are, circumventing local law enforcement, endangering local law enforcement, it's making everybody's lives more dangerous. It's making citizens less trusting. It is going to create some real sticky situations for those communities there. They're out of control. I mean, think about this. Cosmetologists, barbers, nail techs, CNAs get more training, have to take licensing exams. And these people don't even get 47 days, I think.
I guess. Nope. Powerful point. A powerful point, and we'll leave it there and let you ponder that, marinate on that for a second. Dr. Niambi Carter is professor in the School of Public Policy, University of Maryland. Good to have you on. We'll do it again. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tavis.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul and Chicago have sued DHS and Trump-era immigration officials alleging warrantless arrests and tear gas use in the state.
These Border Patrol agents and ICE officers have acted as occupiers rather than officers of the law as they have rampaged through the Chicago area.
They're asking a judge to halt these tactics near schools, hospitals, and courthouses. Morris Brown College has fired President Dr. Kevin James without explanation despite his contract running through 2029. The move comes weeks before a key accreditation review. James, who restored the school's accreditation, calls it board overreach and vows to take legal action. And WNBA star Asia Wilson is giving back to her roots. She donated her signature Nike A1 sneakers to Benedict College's women's basketball team, her dad's alma mater. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
City of Orange, a wreck has the 2 right lanes blocked, and it looks like it's an overturned vehicle on the 22 eastbound between the City Drive and Bristol Street. In the meantime, you are slow and go from Brookhurst. Moving into Irvine, we also have a wreck now moved to the shoulder on the 405 northbound before Jeffrey Road, but delays remain all the way from the 133. And up in Sherman Oaks, a crash is taking up the right lane, 101 northbound after Van Nuys Boulevard. Expect some delays.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A milestone night Monday for Clippers guard James Harden. In the Clippers' 117-109 win over Charlotte at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, Harden passed Shaquille O'Neal for 9th place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. Harden dropped 32 points to give him a career total of 28,614. Shaq had 28,596 in his 19-year career. The 36-year-old Harden is in his 16th season. The Lakers have lost 3 straight after losing at Sacramento Monday night, 124-112. The number one topic in the NFL today is the status of Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, one of 4 African-American head coaches in the NFL. Tomlin is also the longest active coach in the NFL with 19 seasons in Pittsburgh. The Steelers' 30-6 loss to Houston last night in the AFC playoffs opened the door to discussions about Tomlin's future. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yay, yay!
in the world, and God we trust. An architect, doctor, maybe an actress, but nothing comes easy. It takes much practice. Like I met a woman who's becoming a star. She was very beautiful, leaving people in awe. Singing songs, Lena Horne, but the younger version. Hung with the wrong person, got her strung on that heroin, cocaine, sniffing up drugs, all in the nose. Could've died so young, now looks ugly and old. No fun, cause now when she reaches for hugs, people hold their breath, cause she smells of corrosion and death. Watch the company you keep and the crowd you bring, cause they came to do drugs and you came to sing. So if you're gonna be the best, I'ma tell you how. Put your hand in the air and take the vow. I know I can, be what I wanna be.
I'm Tavis Smiley. Glad to have you with us in this hour of our program. And as promised in this hour, a conversation with New York Times investigative reporters Katie Benner and Erica L. Green about their provocative new book. It's called Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. It's not typically my way, but I want to give them as much space as I can for them to stretch out in this hour. Let me just sort of set the frame for you, what this story is about, and then I got, trust me, tons of questions for them about their research over years to bring us this particular story. So T.M. Landry College Prep. T.M. Landry College Prep is a small private school in Louisiana. It has boasted a 100% college acceptance rate, placing students at nearly every Ivy League university in the country. The spectacle of Landry students opening their acceptance letters to Harvard and Yale has been broadcast on national television, even celebrated by one Michelle Obama. It became a national ritual, that is, to watch the miraculous success of these youngsters year in and year out, because this school is situated in an area, Breaux Bridge, one of the poorest counties in the country. So you got all these kids who are being accepted to all these Ivy League schools from one of the poorest counties in the country, ranked close to the bottom for test scores and high school graduation rates. So T.M. Landry was said to be minting prodigies. That's a quote about their work, minting prodigies, and the prodigies oftentimes were black. So the question is, how did the school pull this off? How did they do this? Well, wait for it, they didn't. It was a scam, and pulled off with fake transcripts and personal essays telling fake stories of triumph over adversity. I'll pause there. That gives you a sense of what this hour is going to be like, talking about this new book, Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. I'm pleased to welcome Katie Benner and Erica L. Green to this program. Erica, how are you today? Good to have you on.
I'm doing well, Tavis. Thank you so much for having us.
It's my honor. Katie, how are you today?
Oh, just really happy to be here with you, Tavis. Thank you so much.
Glad to have you both on. Let me just start with this. I am always fascinated by stories like this, where the whole country, including elites, get duped. So let me just start with that question at the outset here. Katie, Erica, whoever you take it. How did so many people get so duped?
First, I would say that it's not, I think history has shown us it might not be as hard as we thought to dupe elites.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen story after story about this happening in all sorts of industries. And in this case, there was such a credentialism around the idea of an Ivy League school. What we see in the book is once one Ivy League school accepts a student from T.M. Landry, the other schools are eager to accept students from T.M. Landry. There are two reasons for this. One is this historic reason. These are schools that really want to diversify. They've been bastions of elitism for so long. They've upheld power structures that kept white men at the top. And starting in basically the late 60s, they want to make a change. So they need students, and they feel that this could be a feeder school for them. And another reason is they're very competitive with one another. And so there is not as much interrogation of the school or of its students, applicants, as one might expect from institutions with such good reputations for being so discerning.
Yeah. That's Katie Benner. Erica, it seems to me that it is impossible, at least to my read. It's impossible for me, at least, it was impossible for me to read this book without feeling mostly for the students, because as nice a story as this played out, it just turned out to be, everybody got turned on and titillated by it. When you think about it, it's really the kids who are the most exploited here. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And that was part of the reason that we wanted to do this book. We wrote a story in the New York Times. Everyone was outraged by the scandal, and everyone pitied them, which, kind of just fed into what they were facing in the beginning. That's how this all got started. And these students had agency, and they were bearing this shame that was really the choices of adults. And so we chose to do this book so that they could seize back their own stories and seize back, their own, and not be reduced to caricatures, and get to tell, their true stories about their upbringings, their journeys through the public school system to TM Landry, and what happened to them when they came out on the other side.
Yeah.
And so they've been carrying this for so many years. In the New York Times story, let's be honest, the banner across the top of the story were these vivid, beautiful but sobering photos of all of the students. They became the face of this scandal. So yes, I mean, and if you read the book, you hear from them, not just about their lives, but what they thought actually transpired here, whether they thought it was right or wrong, and what they ultimately wanted to do in their lives, not what, a teacher, what Mike and Tracy Landry were pushing on them, but their own hopes and dreams for what their lives would look like. And for a lot of them, it was not to be in an ivory tower in an Ivy League school, and and Northeast. They come from a diverse set of backgrounds. They had a diverse set of dreams, and despite this achievement or accomplishment that was being forced upon them, a lot of them persevered to live their version of the American dream. So
we're going to do our small part to help Katie and Erica and these students seize their stories, to use Erica's phrase, let them seize their stories again all these years later. When we come forward, we're going to start with the obvious question: who are the Landrys? It's called TM Landry, and you heard Erica and I just mentioned the Landrys. So we're going to start with who are the Landrys, and we will jump from there. I'm delighted to have Katie Benner and Erica L. Green, investigative reporters for the New York Times, on to discuss their new book called Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control.
Yikes!
So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Everyday penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
The book is called Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. The authors of this text are New York Times investigative reporters, Katie Benner and Erica L. Green. Pleased to have them both on the program right now to talk about the book. Erica, you mentioned it. I'm happy to have you or Katie on opine, but tell us about the Landrys.
Katie, you can take it.
Oh, okay. Well, the Landrys are a couple that have an incredibly compelling personal backstory. They grew up in rural Louisiana in a small town called Breaux Bridge. And one of the reasons why so many college admissions officers came to embrace them and to love them and to champion them is because they felt like their personal stories mirrored the story of America that they wanted to support, which was of young people who grew up in really dire circumstances in a rural and poor part of the country, who were Black, who used education in order to succeed. Mike specifically said to his students, prospective students, families, and admissions officers, he grew up in what he called rats and roaches welfare. He grew up to a mother who was a teenager when she had him very young. She was often not around or available. He spent a lot of time with his grandparents, and they lived in pretty shoddy housing in a part of the town that all the locals called the back of the tracks. It was the kind of place that people said you just didn't go. And in his telling of his life story, he goes to college, he does well, and he comes out with an appreciation for education that he eventually wants to give to other children in Louisiana because of how powerful it is.
Mm-hmm. And that's where this story begins, with his own backstory and wanting to provide the same opportunity for others. Erica, let me ask you this. I'm always fascinated by investigative reporters. I'm just a lowly talk show host, but I'm always fascinated by reporters who spend years digging into stories to find these jewels, as they were. But tell me how you. I'm fascinated by how you and Katie got on this beat. That is to say, tracking this particular story.
Sure. So, I don't, by title, I think most reporters, no matter what their beat is, have to investigate. And so while I didn't hold that title, I was an education reporter for more than 13 years. We when you have a story like this that just seems too good to be true, that you also you don't want to be true. When we first heard about this, we got a tip from a lawyer, and when Katie called me, I truly did not want to believe it. I was like, there has to be a catch. I had seen these videos, I shared them, I celebrated them myself, and so we decided that we needed to get to Louisiana as soon as possible. And we were there within 48 hours after we received this tip. We were also in an extraordinary position where we had families who wanted to talk. Usually a story like this that's so explosive and could really take down, not just one or two people, but an entire school and community. You don't find a lot of people willing to blow the whistle. And they were very, they had been treated unfairly. They felt deceived. They wanted some semblance of justice. And they felt that telling their story was, and telling the world their experiences, was the vehicle for that. So we were exhaustive. We did this story in 1 month, and that was, interviewing dozens and dozens of people not once, but twice, some 3 times. We verified everything that we could through documents. Anybody who told us anything, we wanted to know if it was written down or somewhere it could be corroborated. We never stopped making the last call. And we used every record at our disposal to really track who this couple was, how this school came to be, and how we got to this point. And, that is what we did with the book as well. Obviously, this is much more expansive. Katie, read history books, tons of them. We interviewed our subjects dozens and dozens and dozens of times over multiple years. We talked to people, for this book who are not even quoted in this book, who gave us a lot of background information. And so we exhausted every resource, human, record, paper, online, video, that was at our disposal, or that we could get our hands on, to really nail down what happened in this school. And we knew a lot was at stake for these families, who chose to share their experiences, some of which they were not proud of, and they were very nervous to put out in the public domain, that had huge repercussions for them. So we just never stopped reporting until the very last second. Katie and I were in our pajamas when we finished this, and even then we were checking and double checking and calling and texting and just making sure that everything was buttoned up to the best of our ability.
It's not my way to typically ask 2 questions at once, but I'm going to weave these 2 together and give you and Erica, you and Katie, as much canvas as you need to paint here, because this is getting really interesting for me. Of course, I've read the text, but it's still fascinating to talk to you about the backstory to writing it. So I'm thinking 2 things here. One, as reporters, how do you feel when you are pursuing a story that is going to lead to an implosion or an explosion? Pick your word. I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel if I'm writing a story over years and I know I'm about to just blow this bad boy up. My reporting is, and again, that's not your end and aim. I at your best, reporters at our best, journalists at our best are about seeking the truth. I get that part. I'm not naive here, but that you're telling the truth is going to blow this thing up. One, how do you process that? But connected to that is the point that Erica made moments ago, that parents and students wanted to tell their story. That really grabs me, because you've been in this space, you've been in this this whirlwind, all of this national press, et cetera, et cetera. It's not altogether true. But now you want to tell the story. Now you want to scream. Now you want to talk. What's that about? 2 questions, not disconnected. Katie, Erica, have at it.
I mean, in your first question, I'll grab that one. It's how do you feel about pursuing a story that's going to lead to an implosion, but also a lot of pain? I mean, I think that I'll just speak for myself as a reporter. I see all of these stories as human stories, and I've written about Wall Street. I've written about the tech industry. I've written about I was part of the team that worked on stories about sexual harassment in the workplace. And in all of those stories, there are multiple people involved, some of whom did things that are really, really awful. And I always want to treat everybody's lives with respect, even people who have done things for which they're going to come under a ton of fire. We all live very full lives, right, Tavis? None of us have perfect lives, and I want to give people every opportunity to defend themselves. So in this book, we reached out to Mike and Tracy and a board member multiple times to give them their say, because again, you're often writing about people who are either having the worst day of their lives, who have done something they regret, who have experienced something that fills them with deeply, deeply complicated emotions. So I think that, again, yes, my first and foremost, always, whether I was writing about sexual harassment, whether I was writing about hedge funds that were imploding, people who had lost money, scam artists, whatever it is, even people who've defrauded people, I do realize that there are human beings at the center of this, and they must have their say. Mike and Tracy have denied any allegations of wrongdoing. We need to let your listeners know that. So when they're reading this book, they can keep that in mind. We also say that right up front at the beginning. And then the feeling of knowing that there's going to be fallout from a story, I find very complicated. I remember when we were working on a lot of these stories around sexual harassment, our team here, while we so many of the victims felt huge relief and they felt that they were finally getting some sort of justice when especially the legal system had failed them. It is also, again, we're talking about human beings. It is difficult. There's online backlash. The way some of these victims are treated after the story goes out into the wild, you cannot control. And so I am personally always filled with, a deep sense of real respect for the people who come forward, a deep sense of worry for them, and a deep sense of worry for some of the people who I've written about who have done things that are not honorable in any way, shape, or form, just because I understand how withering and terrible online backlash can be.
Let me ask you a quick follow-up before we go to that other part of that question, which is, these parents and students and others who wanted to talk. I'm fascinated by what was compelling them in a moment like this to talk to two reporters from the New York Times, no less. But a quick follow-up for you, Katie. I use this phrase all the time. I have a chapter in one of my books that's called this. In fact, it's called "Save Space for Grace." Save space for grace, and that's what I hear you saying. And as an investigative reporter, though, trying to get at the truth. Even with the land use in this particular case and the other stories that you've written that you mentioned a moment ago, what does that mean for you as an investigative reporter to save space for grace for people who may be culprits or guilty, but you got to cover their story in the writing of your story as well? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I have that book.
Yeah.
Second of all, I think that saving space for grace is not the same thing as going easy on somebody or pulling a punch, right? You still have to say what happened. You still have to be truthful with your reader to the extent you can be with the facts you have on hand.
Right.
That said, that means being respectful. That means not giving somebody 2 hours to respond to a sea of allegations that could ruin, destroy, utterly change their lives, utterly change the lives of their children, their spouses, their bosses, their community, whatever it is. Like, people need time to process.
Yeah.
People need time to understand. And again, like, I know I'm taking a risk there, and not every reporter does it this way. I'm not saying that all people should do it this way. It's a deeply personal thing for me. But I feel like that grace is the interaction I have with the people I'm writing about critically. I respect them, even if I have my own feelings of what they did. They are human beings.
Yeah.
And then we all have to go, we all have to reckon with our lives and look ourselves in the mirror. So they'll do that on their own, but I understand this is a person.
Yep. So Eric, I've got 2 minutes here now. Of course, when we come forward, I got the rest of the hour here. But in 2 minutes, get me started on this question I posed a moment ago about why now these persons wanted to talk to you and Katie.
Well, they had tried to talk to Mike. They had tried to even reach out to their local media, as they were all that they had, and their experiences were all that they had, and they had felt wrong. They had handed their futures over to the Landrys. They trusted them. They paid them. They shared their most precious commodity, which is their children, with these two people who they felt had hurt, exploited, and abused them. And as they got more information about what was happening in the school, because their students were instructed not to share that with them. There was a transaction and an agreement here that proved quite detrimental. And so, they wanted justice. They had tried to turn to the local authorities. And no one listened. And so that's how they got to the New York Times. And I'd love to actually, elaborate on more on that question of what you do when you're about to write something that's going to implode. It was very difficult to write this story. I think this is public, so I don't mind saying it. They're halfway through that story. I was almost about to be out. Like, I was an education reporter. I covered children for a very long time. I had written stories that held adults accountable for any abuses of children for a very long time. And I kind of had this approach where, it's almost like a medical doctor. I didn't want to do harm.
Yeah.
And we knew that this story could do real damage. Well, there were students in school when this story came out. There were students who had been accepted to these schools, were walking around these campuses, and they were about to be found out. And that weighed really heavily on me. I mean, as a Black woman, I knew what I was going to face from in terms of public backlash about, being critical of and dismantling a Black school run by a Black couple.
Let me pause you there right quick. I promise I'll come right back to you. I promise.
Sure,
I know you got more to say. Watching my clock here. So I'm gonna let Erica finish that line of thinking when we come forward here. But ultimately, I think what the audience wants to know, and we're gonna give it to them, is what did T.M. Landry do? What did this school do? And how did they do it? What did they do? I'm thinking of Barbara Jordan now. What did the president know, and when did the president know it? So what did they do, and how did they get away with it? And the point she makes now about these students, I'm sure, is making listeners think as well. If these kids were unprepared, how are they walking around Harvard and Yale? Like how are they making it if they were lied on their transcripts, et cetera, how they survive at these institutions? Much more to cover. The book is called Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. The authors, Katie Benner and Erica L. Green, are our guests right now on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. For 40 years, I have had the privilege, and I don't use that word lightly, the privilege of sitting down with presidents, world leaders, authors, artists, activists, the folk who shape our world. Thousands of conversations, tens of thousands of questions. And somewhere along the way, I realized that the art of conversation is dying. So here's what I'm going to do about it. I am now going to teach what these almost 40 years have taught me, how to have conversations that matter. 6 courses, from the anatomy of a great conversation to generous listening as a superpower to handling difficult exchanges without losing your dignity or your mind. Go to TavisTalks.com right now. That's TavisTalks.com. Download the free guide, see what's coming, sign up to be the first to know when we launch the series. Conversation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be taught. I'll see you in class.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Black Philadelphia Sheriff Rochelle Bilal is refusing to back down after receiving MAGA hate messages over her warning to ICE agents.
If any of them want to come in this city and commit a crime, you will not be able to hide. You don't want this smoke.
ICE Director Todd Lyons warns that such rhetoric could introduce unnecessary danger. Black former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot has launched the ICE Accountability Project website to track alleged misconduct by federal immigration agents. She says it will reveal patterns of abuse. Incidents can be reported at reporticenow.com. And LeBron James is marking his 23rd NBA season with a special jersey patch. It shows his iconic powder toss silhouette with colors from all 3 teams he's played for. Some patches will end up on rare Topps trading cards. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The SIG alert in Hollywood has been extended northbound side of the 101 freeway at Vermont Avenue. 2 right lanes are blocked. Traffic stopped back from the East LA interchange, back from the 10 freeway. And up ahead, we've got another problem on the northbound side of the 101 at Highland. A crash being worked on by the CHP. Big delays from Santa Monica Boulevard. And in Rosemead, 60 freeway eastbound just past Rosemead Boulevard. CHP setting up a work zone.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A milestone night Monday for Clippers guard James Harden. In the Clippers' 117-109 win over Charlotte at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, Harden passed Shaquille O'Neal for 9th place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. Harden dropped 32 points to give him a career total of 28,614. Shaq had 28,596 in his 19-year career. The 36-year-old Harden is in his 16th season. The Lakers have lost 3 straight after losing at Sacramento Monday night, 124-112. The number one topic in the NFL today is the status of Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, one of 4 African-American head coaches in the NFL. Tomlin is also the longest active coach in the NFL with 19 seasons in Pittsburgh. The Steelers' 30-6 loss to Houston last night in the AFC playoffs opened the door to discussions about Tomlin's future. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yeah, yeah.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Katie Benner and Eric L. Green, reporters with the New York Times. They've written this provocative and amazing text called Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. In case you've just tuned in, you've missed a pretty amazing first half of this conversation. Check out the podcast later tonight when it's posted, in case you missed the first half hour, about this riveting investigation of a school, a scam, and a notorious college admission scandal that exposes the inequalities of racial segregation in American education from 2 award-winning New York Times journalists. And then so many of these victims, I call them victims, are black children in Louisiana who did in fact get into some pretty amazing schools, but the way they got into them is unjust, unfair, unthinkable, unimaginable, and unjustifiable. But I digress on that for now. Erica was on a roll a moment ago, and I want to go back to her because I think what you were expressing, and I'm looking at some of the comments that are coming in even as we're having this live conversation, and I hear what you're expressing. I heard at least what you were expressing is something that many of us are trying to process and resonate with, and that is this notion of being a black reporter. And let me just make the waters a bit more murky. A black reporter at a white institution, no less, the New York Times, writing a story that you know is going to potentially implode, do harm to the lives of other black people. And you were talking about the way you were sort of processing that emotionally, and I'm throwing this in psychologically, spiritually, but finish your point, Erica L. Green.
Yeah, I mean, that was something that I struggled with, if I'm being very honest, and it would be silly for me to say that I wasn't. One of the things that really ate at me was also that I was about to write a story that was going to affirm what a lot of people already believed anyway, that these students did not expect that these students did not deserve to be there.
Right.
You know, I'm sure the student who is walking on Harvard's campus and someone already thinks that they got there in a, you know, untoward way, or they're an affirmative action hire, or just a diversity admission, a diversity admission. And I just knew that this story was going to be weaponized to perpetuate that sentiment that is very prevalent at white institutions.
How'd you come to terms with that then? How'd you get settled with that?
I talked to the families and I talked to the kids, and I will never forget, it was Bryson. And he said, "You can't give up on us. We're doing this. You have to do this." It wasn't about me. This was about them. And that's the way, but you know, my whole career, that's the reputation that I have had since I covered the Baltimore City school system since, you know, 2010. You know, if it was about me and what I would feel like, then I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, no, I got it.
I had plenty of other stories that I could have been, you know, doing. This was not some career defining story or endeavor for me. It was an injustice that, you know, and that needed that you know, that people wanted to expose, that was also very instructive for so many sectors of our society. There were implications for the students for sure, but there were implications for the institutions too.
Sure.
You know, they had a lot to answer for that they frankly didn't at the time that the story was published, but I think, you know, they do now, which is another reason that we decided to do a book on this. So I just got through it by, you know, remembering that my job was to document, give a voice, a platform, you know, present fair and accurate accounts. And that's ultimately what I did. And that one, you know, students, they were nervous. They all, you know, it impacted them for sure. But the students who read that story in the middle of the night together, when it came out, believed they felt a sense of justice. No one was kicked out of school. A lot of students, you know, as a result of the story, a lot of the students, you know, chose to leave in the years after for their own reasons, and many of them are thriving as a result because they shouldn't have been there in the first place. But yeah, we had to reckon with a lot, and you know, as journalists, we always have to tell our subjects, no matter how explosive a story or not, you know, we can't control the outcome.
No, but I was thinking, no, to your earlier point.
We can't. You know, we made no promises. You know, this was their choice.
No, I got it.
And we, you know, and they were very eyes wide open about, you know, come what may.
No, to your earlier point, I was thinking about the fact that you and Katie were researching this book, working on this book, writing this book while the Supreme Court was doing away with affirmative action in higher education. And so this notion of the way this story was going to be read about these black students who didn't deserve to be there in the first place hadn't earned their way there in the midst of a national conversation about affirmative action in higher education. I was just noodling and processing all that as I was working my way through the book. Katie, let me come to you right quick. I'm watching my time is getting away from me. I asked this broad question.
I want to just underscore something. This idea of who deserves and who earned. I think that we focus so much on whether or not Black students, whether or not Native American students, Spanish-speaking students deserve to be somewhere. But that hides the fact that there are many, many people who are white, who have positions of power that they themselves never earned, never had to work for, never had to fight for. And so when we see the affirmative action decision fall, Supreme Court level that you just mentioned, one of the first things that happens is schools are also asked to examine whether or not they should get rid of legacy admissions.
That's right.
Do legacy admissions prioritize wealthy white people and put them into schools that they themselves could not get into based on their test scores? But that question is so toxic and so explosive that it does not capture the nation in the same way as this question of whether or not people who aren't white deserve and earned. So I think we need to frame it around that this idea that there is any kind of meritocracy where there are white people walking around and they all deserved and earned what they have is one of the things that allow us to perpetuate a very, very unfair and racist system.
Yep. My time is getting tight. When we come forward here, some direct questions with some direct answers, and make the most of the time that we have. Again, we haven't gotten to what did the school do and how did they get away with it. There's a whole book about that, but I'll let Katie or Erica just top line that for us right quick. As you know, I've done this for so many years. I don't want to give you everything anyway because I'm trying to move product. Katie and Erica got to sell books. They got to move product. So we're gonna top line some of these questions for you. What did the school do and how did they get away with it? That's one question I want to ask. I'm looking at listeners who are sending questions of their own, and no surprise here. People want to know what happened to the Landrys. Why are they not in jail? We're thinking about what happened at USC and some of the celebrities who had to go to jail for lying and getting their kids, buying their kids' way into USC. They went to jail. The Landrys did all this mess, exploited all these students, many of them black students. They denied any wrongdoing in the text, as Katie made the point earlier. But whatever happened to the Landrys? Where are they? A few more questions in the time I have left. The book, once again, is called Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. More with Katie and Erica when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
BET and PBS, The Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. This is Tavis Smiley.
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. If you're struggling with mental health, you should know that there are resources out there that can help. And it's okay to talk about it if you need to. One place to get started with information is loveyourmindtoday.org. Loveyourmindtoday.org offers a range of guides, instructions, and insights for dealing with difficult situations or getting through a tough time. If you're struggling with mental health, get the help you need, because most people out here really care. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Join Ignited Light at the 10th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, Saturday, January 17th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Holman United Methodist Church, 3320 West Adams Boulevard, west of Arlington. This service for humanity brings together community providers offering free food and clothing, medical screenings, legal, dental, academic, and career services, plus vaccinations, flu shots, HIV and STD testing, and blood pressure checks. All are welcome. That's January 17th at Holman United Methodist Church. For more information, go to adayon.org. That's adayon.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
So Katie and Erica, you'll appreciate this. This program is syndicated, so you're being heard, of course, all across the country right now. I'm in L.A., and people listen everywhere, including my precious 80-year-old mother, who lives in Indiana. And my mama just called me during the commercial break and said, what happened to the Landrys? Can you please ask? What? I said, Mama, I got you. So I'm getting questions from everywhere, but please answer my mother's question. Somebody right quick. My time is running. What happened to the Landrys? So my mama can be happy.
I'm sorry, I don't want to give away the end of the book, but just know that when you read it, you will not be surprised. You know, the Landrys, when they were exposed by the New York Times, they really fought back. And interestingly, they had parents who stood by them and said, on a call that we heard a recording of in a meeting, they said, listen, aren't there white families doing the same thing? If Mike is getting my kid into college, there are other people doing far worse. I'm going to stand by this man. So it wasn't the clean Hollywood story that we've come to expect about a community turning on somebody who's hurt their children.
Erica, top line for me right quick. Some of the things this school, I kind of teed up a little bit earlier, some of the things the school did and how they got away with this.
They coerce their students to concoct stories that were not all of them were entirely false, but concoct stories that they believed would appeal to white guilt, gain them admission into the most elite colleges in the country, and in the process bring them fame and money. They used coercive tactics, including physical and emotional abuse. And the way that they got away with it is that they cultivated a culture of fear. They used their purported relationships with these institutions to threaten the students that if they did not comply, that they had no future at any college. And they were able to effectively do this because it was Louisiana. It was families who did not know this world, did not know how to navigate this world. And they had convinced them through, obviously gaining admissions at these institutions that they were the only way.
So, Katie, I think the audience gets it already. There's a range here of answer to this question of what actually happened to these students. There's a range from some graduating to some dropping out. Erica kind of tiptoed around that issue earlier, but just give me a sense of what actually happens to these students.
As you can imagine, because the Landrys were seeking power more than they were actually seeking success for the students in college, you have a mixed bag. And a lot of it comes down to, are people prepared to not only do the kind of scholastic work demanded of you at an elite college, are they prepared to be in this environment? Are they prepared to be without the Landrys, who have created almost a cult-like atmosphere? Are they prepared to live a life without them? And not everybody succeeds. Not everybody does well. There's one student who, he's the person I probably have gotten the most messages about, who was extraordinarily brilliant, but he is not somebody who graduates from college at all. But at the same time, when you look at the choices these students have made, we are true to their choices. I am not going to pass judgment on whether somebody has succeeded or failed. All I know is that the students themselves believe that they are on the right track, even if they feel lost. And that is, for me personally, that's what's important. But no, did they all succeed in a traditional sense? Absolutely no. It's a very mixed bag.
But I'm with Katie. Success is what each of us determines it to be. So you can't let somebody else decide what success is for you. But I hear the point that Katie's making loud and clear. Our remaining moments with Katie Benner and Erica L. Green and this book, Miracle Children, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cow Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, Katie Benner, and Eric L. Green, authors of this book, Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. I want to close in 3 minutes I have left. You at the balance of my time to the gentle ladies from the New York Times. I think the exit question for me, at least, is this. This story, in many ways, for me, Katie and Erica, is both instructive and informative. It's not even so much just about what happened at Landry, but it's instructive and informative in a variety of ways. If you agree, I'll take both of your responses to that. Katie, you first. I got 3 minutes to go.
It's as an instructive story. I think that the way I look at this is, what are we seeing in our world today? We're seeing the dismantling of so much progress that happened during the civil rights movement. And before that could happen, before we could have this dismantling, we needed a denial, almost an abnegation of how far we really were from creating an equal world. And one of the things that these students did, these success stories do, is it creates what the scholar Imani Perry called a release valve for society. So we can move on with our lives and not have to reckon with how much work still needs to be done. And the more you use the release valve rather than getting down to the hard work, the easier it is for things to be dismantled down the road, which is what we are seeing today.
No, it's a powerful frame from Imani Perry. Erica Green, the last word goes to you.
Yeah, I just, it is quite instructive. It is very informative, and it comes at a time that we're seeing the pendulum now swing to the other extreme, right? We have a president in office who is, just deciding to say out loud that he actually believes that the civil rights protections and policies that were enacted in the 60s have disproportionately harmed white people. There is a white lash that is taking place, especially in higher education. We have students who are now being discouraged from even writing about their identity, who don't even want to identify as Black or poor or otherwise. And, we keep putting students and children in this country in a position to bear the burdens of this of the original sin of all of these, failures of an unjust society. And we're seeing this go into a new phase now. And what, I really hope that people take away from this book is that, Black children in particular do not have to be broken and damaged to be valued. They do not have to be broken to be seen as valuable. They should not have to trade hardship for opportunity. They should not have to trade their dignity for opportunity. And, how we'll be able to see that in any kind of semblance of that mantra flourish in the next 3 to 4 years or beyond is remains to be seen. It's going to be harder.
Yeah. There are many high-profile Americans who have offered blurbs and reviews on this book. One of them said, this book is a chronicle of the American War on Black Life. Chronicle of the American War on Black Life. This book is essential reading. The book is called Miracle Children, Race, Education, and a True Story of False Promises. I am grateful. We are indebted to Katie Benner and Eric L. Green for spending years to research this story that many of us thought was one thing, turns out to be something altogether different. But we would never have known that if Katie and Erica hadn't done the hard work to bring us this book, Miracle Children. And for that, I am grateful, not just for the text, but for the conversation. Katie, good to have you on. All the best to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Tavis.
you.
And Erica, good to have you on. Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
My honor to have you on. Okay, let's move on. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. San Antonio, Texas has scrapped plans to use taxpayer money to help women travel out of state for abortions. Councilman Mark White said cities should stick to core services.
Our job is to figure out how we can most positively impact our citizens' day-to-day quality of life.
A new Texas law bans the funding. Reverend Al Sharpton is firing back at President Trump's claim that white people were badly treated during the civil rights era. Sharpton says Black Americans still face gaps in education, voting rights, and access to capital. And PepsiCo and Walmart face a class action lawsuit in New York accused of conspiring to inflate Pepsi prices for rival retailers while giving Walmart lower prices. The suit covers purchases from 2015 to 2025 and claims unfair competition. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Looks like we've got a new crash the westbound side of the 101 freeway in Woodland Hills, right there at Canoga. 3 vehicles involved in a wreck there. It is jammed from about Reseda Boulevard in the Tarzana area as you head westbound. Southbound side of the 405 through the Sepulveda Pass, very slow conditions because of an earlier crash at Sunset, clearing on the right shoulder. Traffic slow back from Burbank Boulevard. Northbound side of the 101 at Vermont, we still have the 2 right lanes shut down from an early morning wreck.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A milestone night Monday for Clippers guard James Harden. In the Clippers' 117-109 win over Charlotte at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, Harden passed Shaquille O'Neal for 9th place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. Harden dropped 32 points to give him a career total of 28,614. Shaq had 28,596 in his 19-year career. The 36-year-old Harden is in his 16th season. The Lakers have lost 3 straight after losing at Sacramento Monday night, 124-112. The number one topic in the NFL today is the status of Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, one of 4 African-American head coaches in the NFL. Tomlin is also the longest active coach in the NFL with 19 seasons in Pittsburgh. The Steelers' 30-6 loss to Houston last night in the AFC playoffs opened the door to discussions about Tomlin's future. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580. Tired of the same old sports talk? Ready to go where the real conversation happens? Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, host of Out of Bounds, the sports show that doesn't play it safe. Every Friday at 6 p.m. on KBLA Talk 1580, my co-host Neil Scarborough and I get you ready for the weekend. We take you beyond the highlight reels and into the stories that matter, the controversial calls, the game-changing plays, the athletes making headlines for all the right reasons and sometimes the wrong ones. From the NFL to the NBA, college ball to the pros, if it's happening in sports, we're breaking it down with no filter and all opinion. Tune in to Out of Bounds with me, Ray Richardson, and my co-host Neil Scarborough, live every Friday at 6 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580, because the best conversations happen out of bounds. KBLA Talk 1580, where Los Angeles talks.
Tavis Smiley, glad to have you with us in this third and final hour of our program today. And I've been looking forward to this because it's not often I get a chance to sit with one of my colleagues for the hour. I see her every day, but we never get a chance to talk, at least not on the radio. So she's here. I'll give her a proper introduction in just a second. First, let me welcome our guest in studio, director, producer, and writer Andre Gaines. He is here to discuss the new film adaptation of The Dutchman. This, of course, is the play written by the late, great Amiri Baraka. And so we're going to play the trailer for this new film, The Dutchman, for you in just a second. But even as beautiful as that is, I have Amiri Baraka's voice that I'm going to share with you, talking about his work on The Dutchman. So you're going to hear him as well. And I'm also pleased to be joined by, as I mentioned earlier, my colleague Dominique di Prima. Just so happens, if you're listening across the country, you don't know this, but if you're in L.A., everybody knows this. As we say in my neighborhood, everybody knows this. So I have I come on 9 to 12 in L.A. So right now we're being heard in stations all across the country, different time zones. If you're in LA, though, I'm on every day 9 to 12. But I am preceded in my studio every day by Dominique di Prima. She comes on 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. with a program called First Things First with Dominique di Prima. And Dominique just happens to be the baby girl. She's the daughter of Amiri Baraka. So how fortunate am I every day to have as my lead in Dominique di Prima. So I take the baton from her every day here locally in L.A. And because she is our resident Baraka expert, I thought I'd invite her in to offer some insight. So, Andre, good to see you. How are you, sir?
Good to see you.
Good to have you.
Doing well, thank you.
Good to have you in studio. And Dominique, I've seen you for the last few hours, but it's nice to see you again. How are you?
Back. Yeah, I'm great.
Good. All right, so we'll get to Andre and Dominique in just a second. No, first, though, here is the trailer for the new film in theaters now called The Dutchman.
Clay, it is a peculiar sensation, this double consciousness. Don't you see?
About what he was feeling. If you talked more, we could have avoided all of this.
All I have to do is just talk more for you to not sleep with another man. Would it make you feel better if you did it too?
Hello.
Do I know you?
You think I'm exciting, right? Would you like to be down with me? I want you to say to me that you love me.
I don't lie on love.
It's the only kind of thing you'd lie about, especially if you think it'll keep you alive.
What's that supposed to mean? What do you want?
Take me to that party.
How do you know about the party? Who is she? Don't know. But it's like she knows everything about me.
So how'd you meet? We've always known. Goes beyond time. Something's wrong with you.
This can't be real. Clay, You're trapped in a cycle of yearning, despair, defeat. You have to dismantle your curse.
What curse? What do you think we've been talking about all this time? You're a murderer, Clay, and you know it.
Will you in on this?
In on what? What is going on?
It's a clear nightmare, man. What the hell am I doing here?
So there's your trailer for The Dutchman, adapted from the play written by Amiri Baraka. So, Andre, I'm always fascinated by the backstory of these things, as this audience knows. What makes The Dutchman, at a moment like this, adaptable as a film?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. It's really great to be here. The themes are just relevant still.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's the main thing. It's just the themes. Folks may not talk the way that they did back in the '60s, talk the way that they do now, but the just the story and the dynamic, especially between races, is just as relevant and as prescient as it was then.
And by themes, you mean what exactly?
I think themes in relationship to sex and race. I mean, that's really when you break the play down what I felt that it was about, and what a lot of academic texts and scholars and folks like that analyzed it and sort of looked at it, thought it was about. We had talked about Stephen McKinley Henderson, who plays, in this case, Dr. Amiri Baraka in the film. Told us a story about the actual origin of the name of the play, Dutchman. And he said, Amiri said that, the press sort of came up with this idea that it was based on the Flying Dutchman, sort of the old fable. And he said what it really was about the like a carpenter process of Dutchmaning wood, which is essentially taking two oblong pieces of wood and fitting them together. And that's what he felt Lula and Clay were these two sort of odd pieces of wood that were kind of being fit together in some type of a way. And that was the actual name, or where the name of the play actually came from. So I think that still resonates now with people, and the audience, has really sort of shown up for that.
We're going to spend the rest of this hour talking about some of these themes, unpacking some of these themes of sex and race. You heard Andre mentioned a moment ago there are others. And when we come forward, you're going to hear Amiri Baraka in his own words talking about The Dutchman, his play now adapted as a film. And as I also mentioned, the daughter of Amiri Baraka, Dominique di Prima, is in studio as well. Going to be a great hour here talking about The Dutchman on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Everyday penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
He does indeed with director, producer, and co-writer of the new André Holland film, The Dutchman. We are reflecting on the legacy of Amiri Baraka in this controversial play that has all kind of themes in it, sex, race, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Andrea Gaines is our guest in studio, as is my colleague here in L.A. at KBLA Talk 1580, Dominique di Prima, the daughter of Amiri Baraka. And before I get to Dominique and back to Andre, I want to just play some sound. This is Amiri Baraka, in his own words, talking about the historical context of The Dutchman.
The play becomes clear if you focus on the time it was written. 1963, produced in 1964. Remember, 58, I should say the late 50s, Emmett Till, Montgomery bus boycott. 58, they blew up Dr. King's house. And they said, Dr. King, the black people came, what should we do, Dr. King? He said, if any blood be shed, let it be ours. I was a young man then. I said, it ain't happening that way. If there's going to be some bloodshed, it's going to be like communal bloodshed, you know. That's when Malcolm X appeared and said, you treat people like they treat you. They treat you with respect, you treat them with respect. They put their hands on you, send them to the cemetery. And that was my generation came in. So this play, actually, although I did a couple of plays before that, but this play represented 1962, the kind of, I would guess, the opening of that kind of expression in a broad way, that we were no longer willing to be put in that situation, you know, because he was actually killed for what? Leaving. He said, I'm gonna leave. You know, I ain't gonna be with you. I'm gonna go be with who I want to be with. He's a killer. You know. But there's symbols, but it's specific. At that time, I lived with a white woman. I lived in a white community, Greenwich Village, and the stuff was breaking the other way. You know, a couple of years later, Malcolm X, the next year, Kennedy was killed. A year and a half after that, Malcolm X was murdered. In that short time between 1965 and 1968, Kennedy, King, Malcolm X, Kennedy, every voice for change in America was murdered.
Dominique di Prima, it is fascinating for me. I'm not the son or daughter of Amiri Baraka, but it's fascinating for me to sit here with you in studio and listen to the voice of your father. And what jumps out at me, there are a number of things that jump out at me about that clip where he's talking about the Dutchman and the environment in which he writes this play. He says that I'm living in a white community, the Village, in New York, with a white woman, and all this stuff's happening around me. I thought about the words of Jesse Jackson Sr., who said to me many times, Tavis, that content without context is pretext. That's Jesse, right? Everything is a rhyme. Content without context is pretext. But it fits this narrative, right? So you hear your dad talking about, the context of his life, which leads to the content of the Dutchman. That's what I heard. What did you hear?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm really glad you said that, because one of the struggles for our family with this piece, Dutchman, is that it is very contextual and it is in that time. And it feels like the mainstream media, the press, always wants to freeze my father in time. Mm-hmm. They like to make him two-dimensional. They try to say he's racist, or that he's anti-Semitic, or that he's a narrow nationalist, as he would say. Mm-hmm. And really, they don't want to let you see the arc of his character, his development, his, as his philosophies change, and as all of ours do, as we get more information. So I think that's a really, really important point when you digest this piece.
Mm-hmm. When you see, read, watch The Dutchman, it strikes you how?
It's my dad doing what my dad does. It's poetry, it's fire, it's political commentary. It's meant to shake you up. You're not allowed to just sit there and be complacent. And that never changed throughout his life. So I think that's why it's important to know the context, like you said. But also, it's a brilliant piece. I mean, it got an Obie Award when it came out, but it is also very much a transitional period of his life. And for the record, the white woman he was living with at that point was not actually my mom. As much as people get confused, my mom is Diane di Prima, and he was married to Hetty Jones at that time, or Hetty Cohen.
Yeah. You heard Andre mention earlier the themes that are in this play. He mentioned specifically sex and race. Talk to me about how you dissect the themes that your father's wrestling with in this piece of work.
Well, yeah, I think it is race and sex. I also think it's about class, because Clay is solidly a middle class character, and when my father's evolving, and when all of us are evolving around our politics around race, we have to look at class, particularly when you're talking about the so-called Black intellectual class, many of whom do come from middle-class backgrounds, but identify with working class, and also have this other layer of pressure and racial dynamic that happens because you're the so-called good Negro, you're the so-called, you're not like other Black people, all of that rhetoric. And so I think that's an important thing too, is, because that dual consciousness and the pressures heaped on a Black man or any Black person take on a whole different resonance when you get into the middle classes and the upper classes and the pressures that are there as well.
I've been playing this game with myself of late, and I want to play this game with you and Andre now. So I love watching old stuff. My friends tease me because I ain't seen nothing recent in forever, except as it relates to this show, watching a film like this to be ready to talk about it. But I like watching old TV channels, old movies. I'm watching Get TV. I'm watching Me TV.
Sanford
I'm watching
and
yeah, exactly. Anything old TV series, old movies, I'm watching. But in the Trump era, and you'll appreciate this, Dominique, maybe even more than Andre does, given what you do every day for a living. In the Trump era, I was watching The Wiz the other day, right, with Michael and Diana and Pryor and everybody, Nipsey. But I'm watching The Wiz, but I'm watching these old films, and I'm playing this game with myself. I'm watching these films that I've seen before, but I'm trying to situate them. Speaking of content and context, I'm trying to situate them in this present moment, right? And I find I'm seeing things, and I was watching Claudine the other day.
I love that.
Talk about a movie that fits nicely in this. You see, you get it, right? If you've seen Claudine, you know where I'm going already, right? So I'm watching these old films, and I'm trying to situate them as I'm watching them in real time. When you think about The Dutchman, now that it's an adapted film and people can go to movie theaters and see it, start with you first, Dominique. How do you situate your father's work then in this present moment that we find ourselves in, with the themes that you've already raised of sex, class, race, etc.?
I situate it in, being willing to be unapologetic and unvarnished. I think on the one hand, you've got social media where people are just talking out the side of their necks. But still, in this present day, people are still tap dancing around race. Even more so with all the anti-DEI, you're not even people are afraid to say Black or racist, and he's going to put it in your face. And I think, that is still just as important now as it was then. Stop BSing and let's get to the root of this and get past the fear, because otherwise we'll never get past this construct, this social construct, which actually rules our caste system in this country.
I'm not trying to set you off, but to use your phrase, do you think that Donald Trump is tap dancing around race? Is he in that category, or is he being pretty in your face about it?
No, he's a full-on Nazi.
Yeah,
I don't think he's tap dancing.
Yeah,
he's just said that the civil rights movement
That's right.
made things very bad for white people.
That's
and
right.
and his homeboy is Elon Musk is posting eugenics every day on X.
Yep. So, Andre, back to my question. This game I'm playing myself, watching these old films.
Yeah.
You're the guy who decided to write, produce, co-write, produce, and direct this thing. Give me a sense of how you think it fits in this present frame.
Well, when I was writing it, when I was co-writing with my partner, Qasim Basir, all over social media, there was a black man who got stabbed to death by his white girlfriend. It was like literally happening while we were in the middle of writing it. And the difference now, which is, what's in the film, I didn't want to give it away, is technology. I mean, what happened in the play in 1964, which is sort of the reason I took some liberties with it, would be very difficult to kind of happen today without eyewitnesses, without people being able to actually say something about it, with Lula murdering Clay. And so that's really what kind of touched a nerve for me, is just I feel like the racism, the covert racism is like so much worse now than.
Well, it ain't covert now.
Right, it's not covert. Yeah, I mean
that's why it's worse.
Right.
It ain't covert.
With Trump in office, it's very much overt.
But
I'm saying that the microaggressions, the sort of passive aggressiveness, these types of things, whether instead of just being out in the open with it, being black and being proud and those types of things. I mean, that just it's. There's a lot of so much more tiptoeing that goes on now.
You mentioned one being technology. Again, we don't want to give the story away here for those who haven't seen the film yet. I mean, of course, if you know the Dutchman, you know the story anyway, so it's not like there's any secrets here. But you mentioned liberties, and that's a Hollywood word, right? I'm not talking about life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I'm talking about Hollywood liberties.
Yeah, we're talking about creative liberties.
Creative liberties.
Right.
So, what liberties did you take with this project?
Well, the first thing is that I couldn't do a straight up adaptation.
Right.
It's a one act play, so it's 55 minutes. I tried that when I talked about it, thinking it was going to be easy. It's like, let's just take the play and put it in a script format and see what happens. Well, a 55-minute play turned out to be a 55-minute movie, and that just didn't work. The main thing, though, for me, one of the things from an adaptation standpoint that was really attractive was getting to know more about Clay.
Right.
I wanted to know more about his life and his sort of backstory, where he kind of came from, which didn't exist necessarily on the page of the play. And there's certain things, again, liberties that you can take on stage that you just can't take in cinema. Like in a movie, you got to go to these places. In the play, Lula talks about wanting to go to the party. Well, we actually go to the party. Let's go to actually see what this party is like in the movie. So those types of things that we needed to do to expand the world just outside of the train itself, and be able to see Clay's environment, particularly as a black man, and where he's coming from and why he has the perspectives that he does. At the end of the day.
Here's a question. This is a screenwriter question, but you'll appreciate it, I think. When you have to take certain creative liberties to expand this to make it a film versus a 55-minute play, there are ways in which the writing, in this case Amiri Baraka's writing, either confines you or liberates you to go in certain places. So, for example, Lula says, let's go to the party. And that's a nice on-ramp for a scene about a party.
Exactly.
So when you look at Baraka's writing, was it more confining or more liberating when it comes to the liberties that you needed to take to turn it into a film. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really the latter.
Yeah.
Just because it's so poetic,
right,
and you can interpret it so many different ways.
Right.
We have 60 years of history of this at this point. I mean, and there's so many different interpretations of his words and what they meant and why he sort of chose them. And there were certain parts that we have obviously had to steer in the direction of a modern audience or a modern couple, in this case between Clay and Kaya. But the idea was that there's so many different directions that you can take. Yeah. And so, the goal was to try to adhere to it as much as we could with bringing it to a new audience at the same time.
Because she's only 28, Dominique wasn't around when...
Still 28.
Yeah, exactly. When this,
aren't we all?
Yeah. But Dominique still looks 28. Yeah. I'm not sure that we do. But because she wasn't around then when this thing came out, I do want to just, when we come forward here in a second, just sort of get her to remind us. She mentioned the Obie, so it was received well in terms of the theater community. But I wonder, what Dominique can tell us about the way that was received more broadly, this controversial play with these themes of sex and class and race. How did her father's work? How was it received then? And I also want to ask her how she would situate the Dutchman in her father's body of work. She made the point earlier that people want to, one or two dimensionalize her father. But how does Dominique situate this in the corpus, the body of Amiri Baraka's work? We'll talk about that and more about the film. It's called The Dutchman, in theaters now for a limited time, streaming, of course, thereafter, as everything else is. We'll talk about that part. But I'm pleased to be in conversation with Dominique di Prima and the writer, co-writer, producer, and director of The Dutchman, Andre Gaines. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Black Philadelphia Sheriff Rochelle Bilal is refusing to back down after receiving MAGA hate messages over her warning to ICE agents.
If any of them want to come in this city and commit a crime, you will not be able to hide. You don't want this smoke.
ICE Director Todd Lyons warns that such rhetoric could introduce unnecessary danger. Black former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot has launched the ICE Accountability Project website to track alleged misconduct by federal immigration agents. She says it will reveal patterns of abuse. Incidents can be reported at reporticenow.com. And LeBron James is marking his 23rd NBA season with a special jersey patch. It shows his iconic powder toss silhouette with colors from all three teams he's played for. Some patches will end up on rare Topps trading cards. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Finally, a little good news in West LA on the 405 southbound. Right before it gets Sunset Boulevard, got that crash cleared over to the right shoulder. Still slow, though, from the 101. In Woodland Hills on the 101 west at Canoga Avenue, trying to clear that crash from the two right lanes. In Burbank on the 5 south, right at Burbank Boulevard, got an accident partially blocking that off-ramp, and still a SIG alert in Hollywood. 101 northbound at Vermont, 2 right lanes blocked.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A milestone night Monday for Clippers guard James Harden. In the Clippers' 117-109 win over Charlotte at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, Harden passed Shaquille O'Neal for 9th place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. Harden dropped 32 points to give him a career total of 28,614. Shaq had 28,596 in his 19-year career. The 36-year-old Harden is in his 16th season. The Lakers have lost 3 straight after losing at Sacramento Monday night, 124-112. The number one topic in the NFL today is the status of Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, one of 4 African-American head coaches in the NFL. Tomlin is also the longest active coach in the NFL with 19 seasons in Pittsburgh. The Steelers' 30-6 loss to Houston last night in the AFC playoffs opened the door to discussions about Tomlin's future. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580. Tired of the same old sports talk? Ready to go where the real conversation happens? Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, host of Out of Bounds, the sports show that doesn't play it safe. Every Friday at 6 p.m. on KBLA Talk 1580, my co-host Neil Scarborough and I get you ready for the weekend. We take you beyond the highlight reels and into the stories that matter. The controversial calls, the game-changing plays, the athletes making headlines for all the right reasons and sometimes the wrong ones. From the NFL to the NBA, college ball to the pros, if it's happening in sports, we're breaking it down with no filter and all opinion. Tune in to Out of Bounds with me, Ray Richardson, and my co-host Neil Scarborough, live every Friday at 6 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580, because the best conversations happen out of bounds. KBLA Talk 1580, where Los Angeles talks.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
You are indeed Tavis Smiley, Andre Gaines, and Dominique di Prima. Dominique di Prima is the daughter of Amiri Baraka, my colleague here at our station in L.A., KBLA Talk 1580. And Andre Gaines is director, producer, and co-writer of the new André Holland film. It's called The Dutchman. It is, of course, based on the controversial, we were just laughing about that during the break, the controversial play, The Dutchman, written by the late, great Amiri Baraka. And it is in theaters right now for a limited time. I encourage you to go check it out. And we've been talking about all things Dutchman. And one of the things I said to Dominique moments ago is I want to get her take on actually her memory. And I can't say memory because, again, she wasn't old enough to remember anything. But what's history teach us or tell us about the way The Dutchman was received when it came out? Yes, it won an Obie, but beyond the theater community, what do we know about the way people responded to this particular piece of your father's work?
I mean, I've read about it, and it continues to resonate throughout our lifetimes. Mm-hmm. These are still things we, the Baraka kids, are dealing with as people's reaction to his work. He's not even here anymore. Yeah. It was shock, a lot of horror. Some people
shock and awe, or just
shock and horror, some awe, maybe some awe. I also think people were like freaked out because if this is revealing the inner workings of a black man's mind or what he's going through, that was kind of scary, I think, to some white folks. Like, what else don't we know?
Still is.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
And how would the other question is, how would you situate this? Because again, you don't want your father to be, nor do I, one or two dimensionalized. But how would you situate the Dutchman in his body of work, in his corpus?
Well, I mean, Dutchman is when he is still pretty much revered by the critics and sort of white society as this incredible beat writer. All of his work is good, but, the politics evolve, right? And he's on his way he's in between being downtown and being one of the premier beat poets and going uptown to Harlem and starting the Black Arts Movement. So this is a transitional phase. He's still married and living downtown. They'll get a divorce, I think, the next year. He'll move uptown. He'll start the Black Arts Movement. He'll move into more of a national black nationalist perspective before going on to become a communist later in life. And all of these things infuse the work because he is a poet who is about making statements with his art. He happens to be having this philosophy. That philosophy is going to be front and center in the work.
Yep. We were talking in the break. I often say on this program, as you know, that sometimes the best part of the conversation happens between the live segments. And so I have to tamp that down, get back on the air. So one of the things we were talking about in this room was the way the New York Times obit referenced Amiri Baraka when he made his transition, when he passed away. And the word they used was polarizing. That was one of the words in the headline in the New York Times obit about Dominique's father, polarizing. And I was saying to Dominique, well, consider the source. If the New York Times calls you polarizing, in some ways, that's a compliment. They think about what I'll let you think about that. Just noodle on that for a second. But if the Times is calling you polarizing, in some ways, that is a compliment. I digress on that point for now. I raise that only on air, Andre, because I'm fascinated and curious to know more about what happens at these screenings. Because of these themes that we write and because it's polarizing and controversial, when you have these screenings and the audience gets a chance to talk afterwards, what are they talking about? What's the debate about? What's the rub?
The rub really is whether or not in the film, whether or not Clay is worthy of so-called forgiveness, or does he redeem himself? I injected into the story his wife, Kaya, played by the great Zazie Beetz. And I wanted to inject a black woman into the story, really to have that perspective in some type of a way. Because the story is so heavily dominated between Clay and Lula, we don't get the luxury of spending that much time with her, but we do get to see their relationship and Clay and Kaya's relationship, André Holland and Zazie Beetz' relationship. We get to see that and then ultimately come back to it at the end of the film. So that's one of the things that's a huge point of debate. Also sort of a huge points of debate is Lula's motives and what it is that she's kind of in pursuit of. She says that she wants love, which is really ultimately what it is that she was seeking in the story, and we wanted to dramatize that even more so in the film. And there's just, again, so many Easter eggs and themes and things baked into the words and the poetic words that Amiri Baraka wrote and then that we try to emulate and build off of. It just spurs a really fun debate.
We were talking off air about some of your choices as a director, producer, writer. I could have started our conversation here. We did talk earlier about the way we situate this piece of work, The Dutchman, in a moment such as this. I did not ask this question, which I could have asked again 40 minutes ago. Let me ask it now, though. Of all the things that you could have been drawn to right about now, what drew you to The Dutchman? Why this project?
I had been pursuing the rights for it for a long time.
Why?
Probably about 6 years.
Why?
I just thought that the the concept of taking these two types of people and putting them in a crucible was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was contained. It was just sort of a powder keg, kind of waiting to explode. That was interesting to me, just from a story and a dramatic standpoint. I also love the scenery of New York. I also love the environment of the train, all of those types of things. And then I think I related, even many years predating me, to Clay, as so many other black men do.
Right.
And what we were saying sort of in the break is kind of like what's going on in a black man's head. Well, you get to see it. You get to see that personified. You get to see it dramatized. You get to see the story told that way on stage, and that's why the play sort of has its own revivals multiple years over and over again. So yeah, that's what drew me to it, and I pursued it, and ultimately finally got it and ended up able to make it.
Dominique, you say something?
I was just going to add that congratulations to you, because I know that Amina, my father's widow, must have trusted you mightily, because she has resisted putting Dutchman out precisely because it freezes my father in time, precisely because of the way the politics can be interpreted in a sense that's not forward-thinking or progressive. And so congratulations.
Yeah, well,
that.
thank you. I'm glad you brought that up, because my pursuit of the rights was kindly rebuffed by that reason, specifically that there was a lot of pain in his work. She didn't want to relive it. That's sort of what I was, was told by the agents at the time, and then ultimately, was put in touch with her. And it was right after my film, The One and Only Dick Gregory, actually came out, that I didn't realize that the family had seen that movie, and was just having small talk with a friend, a local politician guy named Mike Blake, and he knew Raz Baraka. And it's like, this is a movie I've been wanting to make. And it's like, let me just put you in touch with Raz. And we started talking, and I was screening Dick Gregory at Martha's Vineyard that year, and I got a call from Amina right when I was landing.
My other mother.
Mother.
I love Amina.
And I had to have this phone call with her, on the tarmac at Martha's Vineyard, of which thankfully I was able to convince her. So
when we come forward, I want to. Dominique said this a moment ago, as did Andre. And I want to just probe this a little bit before I run out of time here, and that is no naivete here. Why Amiri Baraka's work, all of it, is in fact so debatable decades later. That in itself is a compliment, right? You can write something and ain't nobody talking about it after it comes out. You can write something and Negroes are talking about it for time eternal. What is it about the writings and the work, the corpus of Amiri Baraka that has us still talking about him all these years later, much less a film, The Dutchman, out now in theaters? More when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening.
Charitable listening.
It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. For 40 years, I have had the privilege, and I don't use that word lightly, the privilege of sitting down with presidents, world leaders, authors, artists, activists, the folk who shape our world. Thousands of conversations, tens of thousands of questions. And somewhere along the way, I realized that the art of conversation is dying. So here's what I'm going to do about it. I am now going to teach what these almost 40 years have taught me, how to have conversations that matter. 6 courses, from the anatomy of a great conversation to generous listening as a superpower to handling difficult exchanges without losing your dignity or your mind. Go to TavisTalks.com right now. That's TavisTalks.com. Download the free guide, see what's coming, sign up to be the first to know when we launch the series. Conversation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be taught. I'll see you in class.
Join Ignited Light at the 10th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, Saturday, January 17th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Holman United Methodist Church, 3320 West Adams Boulevard, west of Arlington. This service for humanity brings together community providers offering free food and clothing, medical screenings, legal, dental, academic, and career services, plus vaccinations, flu shots, HIV and STD testing, and blood pressure checks. All are welcome. That's January 17th at Holman United Methodist Church. For more information, go to adayon.org. That's adayon.org.
1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, Dominique di Prima, daughter of Amiri Baraka, and Andre Gaines, director, producer, and co-writer of the new André Holland film, The Dutchman. My time is getting tight. You got to say a word about this cast. When I got a chance to watch this in preparation for our conversation, the cast that you assembled completely blew me away.
Yeah, thank you. No, it was a blessing for sure. Mm-hmm. André Holland and I went to NYU together, so we've known each other for a long time. Since the Obama years, and so he was my first call. He was my only call, actually, when it came to playing Clay. And then Zazie Beetz initially had passed on it because she was getting married at the time. I didn't realize that, and I kindly told her, I don't accept your pass. You got to make this movie. And she said okay, and I owed her a honeymoon, later. Kate Mara, I've always admired her work. She's always been fantastic. That was one of the blessings that she actually called me through her agent, of course. We didn't know each other prior to the film, but, are friends now. And so we met for breakfast one morning, and I said, did you read the script? Do you know what you got to do in this film? And she said yes. And then Aldous Hodge, he's former New York resident. He's moved since, but he was up the street, said, yeah, come, give me a couple of days. And then Stephen McKinley Henderson, this theater legend. I mean,
you go.
Just incredible. And his son actually is one of the executives of LeBron James's company, and I've done 2 movies with LeBron James's company, and so there was a connection there. And then Lauren E. Banks, who plays a small but mighty role as Aldous Hodge's wife in the film, actually was student at Howard of Al Freeman Jr., who played the original Clay.
The great Al Freeman Jr.
Al Freeman Jr. played the original Clay in the 1966 adaptation, or the film of the play, which was really just the play on film at the time. And so it was this.
You got dots connecting,
yeah, lots of dots connecting, and so it was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
No, it's an amazing cast. You'll love the film, The Dutchman, in theaters now, and the cast brings to life. Just an amazing cast of thespians who tell this story quite beautifully. Our remaining moments with Andre Gaines and Dominique di Prima when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, You can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the WASPs. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-515-4493, 800-515-4493, 800-515-4493.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Andre Gaines, director, producer, and co-writer of the new André Holland film, The Dutchman, along with Dominique di Prima, the daughter of Amiri Baraka. I've been delighted to have them in this studio for this last hour, talking about The Dutchman, which is in theaters even as we speak, with an amazing cast that we just talked about moments ago, and highly recommend it. If you never saw the play, if you've never seen The Dutchman, here's your chance to see it as a film, and these themes will jump off the screen at you, and it's one of those things where you go see it with somebody, because you got to talk to somebody. you got,
or talking to yourself.
Yeah. That's what I did. I saw it by myself, and I didn't have anybody to talk to afterwards, but I knew I was going to talk to y'all today, so it works itself out. Last word for you, Dominique, about the legacy. Not just of the Dutchman of but your father's body of work all these years later.
Well, I think, your point about why we're still talking about the stuff, his intellect, his searing intellect. I think my father had read every book that's ever been published in the history of the world. His house was full of books. He never stopped writing. He believed in his craft, and he believed in our people. So the combination of deep intellect and a real commitment to Black liberation, I think, it makes a fearlessness in the work that makes us keep talking about it. And that is the legacy of the Black Arts Movement, which is use your art for liberation.
Use your art for liberation. I love it. Oftentimes in conversations like these, Andre, it is the way of talk show hosts like yours truly and Dominique to ask what the takeaway is, what you want for the takeaway. But I'm not sure, are there takeaways from a psychological thriller?
Oh, sure. if the underlying work is Amiri Baraka, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're still talking about Baraka's work, not only because of everything that you just said, but also because of the poetry. Yeah. It's so beautiful. The words that he wrote. It's not repeatable. That's kind of a once in a lifetime talent. And I think that within poetry, there's so many different interpretations of things. And so, yeah, that work continues.
Yeah.
It just resonates. I think at the end of the day, the takeaways, there's so many different takeaways from the film, but you will laugh, you will cry, you will enjoy it. You will talk about it, and that was the goal.
I'm always amazed. I've been at this long enough now to have seen this more times than I can count, for that matter. I speak for Dominique in this regard. I know she feels the same way. It's always amazing for us in our field to watch over the years the way people's work gets rediscovered by, ensuing generations, and not just discovered, but even appreciated in ways that it wasn't perhaps back in the day. I was saying to somebody the other day, I mean, we've been in this Baldwin renaissance for the last 20 years now. Everybody's on the James Baldwin tip, right?
That's right, yeah.
So there are people who do great work, and over time their work gets to be appreciated more and more, gets to be unpacked more and more, dissected more and more, and I think that that's going to be the case for years to come. For one, Amiri Baraka. It's called The Dutchman. It's in theaters even as we speak, with an amazing cast. It was directed, produced, and co-written by our guest in this hour, Andre Gaines. Andre, congratulations, man. As Dominique said, a great piece of work. Thank you for coming in to see us.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And Dominique, I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Lord willing. Until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. San Antonio, Texas has scrapped plans to use taxpayer money to help women travel out of state for abortions. Councilman Mark White said cities should stick to core services.
Our job is to figure out how we can most positively impact our citizens' day-to-day quality of life.
A new Texas law bans the funding.
Thank you.